All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Palen Music Center's Video to Professional Development Series. My name is Mike Steffen. I am an educational representative out of our Liberty, Missouri location, which is outside of Kansas City, for those of you who are not familiar with the area. Palen Music Center is a family-owned company that is based out of Springfield, Missouri. We've got 8 locations in Missouri, Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and we take care of directors all over the place. So we are just expanding our reach to help out as many folks as we can during this time. And we've been doing sessions for a couple of weeks now, actually about a month now. And rather than just doing sessions of trading ideas and sharing how things are going, we decided to kind of turn this into some new professional development for you. So this morning's first one is going to be focused on the Yamaha Harmony Director. And so for those of you who have not used the Yamaha Harmony Director yet, it is a wonderful tool. It's a keyboard that you can use in your classroom to help with all sorts of tuning issues that both our guest Ken and John are going to address this morning. So I want to say thank you, first of all, to Charles Pizarro from Tulsa Union Schools for hosting this for us. We ended up having more than 100 folks sign up, so we wanted to make sure we had the room, and Charles graciously said, I'm happy to help host that for you. I've got an extended platform to do that on Zoom. So thanks, man. Thank you to Palen Music Center for encouraging us to do these and supporting us and doing these while we're all stuck at home, just like you guys are. And I want to say thank you to Yamaha, because Yamaha has given us a special discount code for anybody who attends this meeting's session this morning. You're going to get a special discount code. If you would like to order the Harmony Director, you're going to get a discount plus a free case. So I will give that to you later on today. But without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ken Hansen. Ken is a band director in the Kansas City area. He's going to introduce himself a little bit, and then he's going to talk about the Harmony Director as if you have never seen one before. Go ahead, Ken.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you all for coming on the call this morning. And Mike, thanks for the invitation. I am the director of bands at Blue Springs South High School, just in suburbia of Kansas City. And so I think I'm 20 plus years into this. I don't remember how many, but taught at a little bit of a small school. Was lucky enough to teach in a large school in Oklahoma, and now in one of the larger schools in Missouri. So this morning, part of my job with this is just kind of as if you've never seen the Harmony Director before. So if you use this on a regular basis, this may not be something that's crazy helpful, but there may be one of the buttons or something like that that you didn't realize what it was for. So I'm going to try to kind of walk you through that. So let me see if I can get this to work here. I might have to spin this around. How do I spin it backwards?
Should be an option on your video choices there.
Video. I have stop video. Here we go. There we go. Sorry. Okay. So you have the Harmony Director over here. It's pretty easy. You've got your on and off switch right next to it. One of the things that we use on a really regular basis is the metronome feature. So yeah, you do have this little panel display here, if I can get out of the light, and it kind of helps you with a lot of people use the Dr. Beat and things like that on a regular basis. You do have some tools here to be able to use an accent, things like that. As you hear the metronome, you can click it that way. One of the pieces of the puzzle that I like best, when you use the Dr. Beat and you use the 8th note pulse, it almost always kind of gives you a down and an up. So even if you're using an 8th note, it kind of always pulses for you. The Dr. Beat one doesn't do that. It's a very steady 8th note. Same thing when you do triplets and things like that. So you do have a metronome feature here with those buttons. You can also tap in your pulse. One I don't use very often is the quarter triplet, but when you need it, man, that is crazy helpful. The next thing over here being this screen here, and then you can use obviously the tempo button, and right next to it, let's see if I can do this. There's this little button here that says default. One of the things that we do on a pretty regular basis in our classroom is we might be starting a piece that's in one tempo and then it switches to another. So if you click these two buttons at the same time, it takes you back to your original tempo. So that feature was kind of life-changing when I finally figured that out rather than have to do it. Right here, there's a little spin button. Let's see if I can figure out which direction to go here. There's a little spin button so that if you are in your metronome and you needed to change your tempo, let's see if I can move this down there, and you need to change your tempo, it can toggle through really fast. That's super handy if you're going through like richerondos and things like that. So if you have to slow down or speed up the cells, that's a very handy button. Now, that's that component of it. That's kind of the metronome part of the Harmony Director. As I move down to this direction, you've got a couple of other switches here. And these buttons are probably the ones I use more often. We do use the metronome like all the time. However, kind of the main component of this feature that we like is how it produces sound and the quality of sound it produces. So you can see right here, you can always manually change. Let's see if I can get to it. You can always manually change your settings as far as what key you'd like to be in and so on. But what we do a little bit more regularly is use these buttons over here. You can see that
Hey, Ken.
anytime you're in class and you have, French horns are playing something and you cannot remember what that is, you can literally just hit the transpose button to F. And then it immediately goes right to their key signatures or the alto saxes.
Hey,
probably
Kenny.
Most of you probably have a pretty good feel of, concert pitch or maybe B flat instruments. But sometimes on the fly, you're sitting right here, you're trying to get through your class. That button for me is a lifesaver at times. Then the component down here that says equal tempered, major, pure, or pure tempered or minor pure tempered. So if you are in a major, so if you're in a major key, you can hear that it's holding, but it's slightly out of tune. Then when you hit the pure major intonation, it will go in tune for you. That has been probably one of the most revolutionary parts of this. You can do that in tonal energy and some other pieces, but not as convenient and as smooth as obviously the Harmony Director. When you move down here, there's also several different qualities of sounds. So I'm going to talk to that just for a second. So in my advanced groups, and I learned this from Dr. Zastoupil, so I'm sorry if I'm going to share some of your knowledge, but I did steal it from him. But when you have the organ sound on, it has the most enharmonics that are going up. So what we discovered, you can hear all the enharmonics. What we discovered in our classes is that some of our young kids, that was too many enharmonics for them to understand how to play in tune. So we a lot of times will use one of the other sounds. You have, saxophone, clarinet, oboe. They're not really those sounds, but they change the enharmonics that are on. And that's helpful. Piano doesn't hold. You can only play piano. It doesn't really hold. The other thing is, if you noticed what I was doing, there is this hold button, and that is how we start class every day. We begin, that's the hold button, the metronome begins, and off we go. So that would be a typical morning right there. The bell rings, the chord hits, the metronome goes, and our kids start locking into intonation and going from there. At the very end of this, you can also put things in different octaves. Oops. In different octaves, low, medium, or high. Let me. And that's super handy. I don't use it a lot, but when I do, it is super helpful. That when you you know, you might be talking to the flutes and then you need clarinets or trumpets or something to play at the same time with them. That becomes very, very handy to move octaves really quick if they're having trouble figuring it out. Let me go back before I kind of finish this part of the component. But what I was saying about our middle school kids, because we use this in middle school and high school, for us, it has completely changed kind of how kids listen, what they're listening for. When we play, they have a little bit of an understanding of what the third is and what the fifth is, and they can understand what in tune or out of tune would be. And when I first started this, I thought that's not going to happen. My kids they're pretty whatever. They do get it figured out, and that's why I would encourage, if your kids are a little younger, using one of the other sounds. A couple of my colleagues love the clarinet sound or the flute sound. A lot of times I end up going to the brass or horn or something like that. It takes the enharmonics out, and it makes it a little bit easier for the kids to hear exactly what the pitches you want. I'd also say if they were struggling with any part of that component, that you just go back to having a single pitch. I was chording it. I almost always do chords for kids to be able to listen to chords. So let me see if I can undo this part of it and then come back.
Hey, Ken.
Yeah.
Can you? Okay. Got a couple questions that have come through while you were doing that. First of all, is there a way to bend the pitch a little sharp or a little flat while you're sustaining? Can you adjust the pitch at all?
There is a key. You can change that. You not really bend like you would on a normal keyboard, okay. But right here at the top, let's see if I get to that. No, I can't get to that. Flip it around again. I glossed over something. Let's see if I can get to this.
And then if you could, while you're looking at the keyboard, if you could keep it fairly steady. I think we might be getting a little motion sickness moving around.
Sorry. Okay. So my bad. Okay, so let me see if I can get to this because it's such a different angle for me. Right over here, I'll try to hold it really steady. There's a hertz and a sense up here, and you can adjust the pitch inside of those. So if you don't like what the preset is, or you show up to someplace that has to have a certain pitch or something like that, you're tuning to a piano or an organ or something in some place, you can adjust it there. But for us, it's always on 440.
Okay, great. That's good to know. John, maybe if you have any other thoughts on that, maybe you can address that during your portion too.
Yeah.
Two other quick questions for you, Ken, and both of them seem fairly similar. Do you hardwire this to a sound system, or do you use the speaker that's on it?
No, I hardwire it, and I'm obviously in my house, so. But there's a way to do that in the back of the machine.
Okay, so there's like a quarter inch jack or something to plug it into an amp, or plug it into.
Yes, there's a 1/4 inch in the back.
Is there a Bluetooth? Is there a way to connect it via Bluetooth? Do we know?
I know that Charles does that, I think, at Union, and I have one of my middle school guys do it. They just hook it to a wireless whatever, and then they connect it that way. If you're smart enough to do,
they connect it to Bluetooth. They connect it to a Bluetooth device that will send the signal out or whatever. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
That makes sense.
It's not Bluetooth itself though. You have to connect it to a device outside of it.
Yes. Okay. I hear you. Very cool. Okay. And let's see, there was one other question. Where'd that go? Oh, no, I guess we're good. Okay. Cool. Ken, thanks, man. Thank you for giving us the basics. So can you say, if we're walking into your classroom, either in the high school, middle school, whatever, what does that look like when you're using it? Can you walk us through as a student how we'd interact with this thing?
Yeah. So for us, like I said, the Harmony Director for me sits up in front of my stand. So as I'm conducting, it's kind of in front, kind of like a rock band keyboard player. And we just literally, that's how I've got it set up in front of us. It sits just a little bit above my director stand. And when we start class, it's almost always we start in concert F. I'm a concert F band. So it's always on a concert F major chord. And every once in a fun while, you just switch it up, and then you just kind of watch kids' brains melt and tick, because they're like, no, that's not where we're starting. Even if they haven't played a note, then they kind of start to figure that out. And as we play, I guess I didn't show you, but what we would typically do is I've got an F major chord happening, and then we play down and back up through the Remington.
Okay, gotcha.
And so our kids, the way they interact with it is they're trying to lock in each pitch as we go all the way down. So we go down chromatically on the Remington exercise and come back to it. But our main focus is to figure out how to play with our absolute best sound. The tool doesn't make you play in tune. It makes you aware of intonation, right? So it helps you understand when you're a little bit more out of tune, because it feels a little bit more uncomfortable. And so that's what's helped our kids listen better, listen differently, and then help play more in tune. Mostly with a better sound, because it just automatically starts to fix your sound, and it opens up your ears, opens up your ears.
And you said, when we were talking about this in a prep session beforehand last week, you had said this really has opened their ears up, and it's been a dramatic change in their playing, right? Because they've just been more aware of their intonation.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, my whole career, I've had an ability to kind of say like, hey, you've got the third chord, you need to do this, but it was abstract. It doesn't make any sense. With this machine, I can literally say, this is what you're doing, and I put it in equal temperament. Here's what we need you to do, and they can hear the difference in the beats and the sound. And then students can they really start to lock in differently. They just listen in differently, even when they don't want to. I think I learned that from the breathing gym guys. They were like, look, if not every single kid is doing it at the same level, they're still getting better. And I totally believe that with this machine, that even if you look around your room, you're like, these 12 kids who need to get it are not getting it. They're getting it more than you think. And that's been the game changer part for us, is that kids who don't realize they're getting better are getting better.
That's perfect. So it's really raised the level of everybody, especially those kids on the lower end that probably wouldn't have been thinking about it at all beforehand.
Absolutely. Well, and we use it with sixth graders. They don't even, now, but those sixth graders haven't made it to high school yet. But but it's completely a game changer that way.
You even use it with the sixth graders. That's very cool. Okay, so Scott Kuhlman, your school down the road, at least on the north, said, how well does it travel? Would it be easy to get a plug and play set up at multiple buildings? Would you feel comfortable doing that yourself?
It is in batteries. It's super light. I mean, it's really light. We do have a case for it. It's not the most durable machine. So, I mean, if all you had was one, then that's okay. But I would really recommend trying to find a way to get two, because that's what we do. We have one at both of our middle schools, and that feed us, and then one at South. Our orchestra program uses it. We use it like, everybody uses this setup for us. But it does have batteries, so you don't have to always plug it in. You can take it on the road with you, use it in marching band. You can click it up into different things. If you were gonna be at a marching festival and you still wanted to use the same thing, you can do that. We've taken it on the road. Last year we were at the Music for All National Concert Band Festival, and we took it on the road with us to Indianapolis to do that. So it's really not hard to move.
Okay, good. So it's not hard to do so, but probably wouldn't recommend it because
it's not made to do so.
Okay. Thank you, Ken. Chris Dolson from Yamaha, you're on the call this morning. Can you unmute for us and talk to us a little bit about connecting it via Bluetooth? You said that there was an option to do that with Line 6.
Yeah, so good morning, everyone. Just real quick to address the Bluetooth question. No, there is no built-in Bluetooth, but if you use the Line 6, which is a guitar accessory company that actually is owned by Yamaha, they make a product called a G20 wireless relay. which gives you a piece that will mount into the back via a 1/4 inch into the back of the Harmony Director. The other part of it will mount into whatever sound source, whether PA system, and then that will talk wirelessly. So it will work with that aftermarket part.
Perfect. Line 6 G20 wireless relay. I put that in the group chat so you guys can all see that. Chris, by the way, who is one of our reps from Yamaha, we reached out to Chris and said we were doing this, and he graciously offered to anybody who wants to order a Yamaha Harmony Director through Palen Music in the next 2 weeks, you can get a free case for this. So we're also discounting the price. Normally, the price of the Harmony Director by itself is $1,500, but we're going to do the Harmony Director and the stand for $1,250. And Chris is going to throw in a free case for anyone who orders in the next 2 weeks. Okay, so we really don't want to make this a sales pitch. I just wanted to make sure that there was something that you guys had to be able to take from this and try to get one yourself. Okay, if you're going to order that, I need you to contact your Palen Music representative. Or if you don't have one because you're out of our area, please email me. I'll put my contact information in the chat and we will make sure you get that. This is only available for the people who are on the call this morning. And I want you to reference the code PMCVBC9. And I will type that in the chat as well. PMCVBC9 for Palen Music Center Virtual Breakfast Club 9. All right. Thank you again, Chris. Really appreciate it. Okay. So Ken Hansen, thank you for your feedback on that stuff. Thanks for showing us what you're doing in your class. Oh, sorry, one more quick question. Hey, Chris, do you know what that relay cost for the line 6? Anybody want to jump in and say that? I'm going to say it's probably 30, 40.
I don't know off the top of my head. I believe it is north of $100 though.
North of $100. Okay. All right. Good knowledge to have. Very cool. Dr. John Zastoupil from Missouri State, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody on the call and tell us a little bit about how you're using it.
Hey, good morning, everybody. It's great to see you. If you've been to my MBA clinic a couple summers ago, this might be a little repetitive, so sorry about that. I do want to tell you, if you have, I know many of you are like, I don't have $1,200. My budget is $300 for the whole year. If you can raise money or do something to get this in your classroom, it will be the best thing you've ever bought. About 10 years ago, I discovered it when I was teaching in Texas. A good friend of mine, Rob Myers, who taught at Flower Mound for a long time. I called Rob and said, I need to learn how to use this. I was teaching music ed students, and our students were graduating, going out to teach, and these things would be sitting in the band hall, and no one knew how to use it. And I didn't know how to use it. And if you were like me, I was scared to death to use this for the first time. I like to run fast-paced rehearsals, and so having something sitting next to me like a Star Wars, ship, and not knowing what to do was a little intimidating. When I went to grad school, we didn't learn this stuff at Michigan or Northwestern. They didn't teach you how to use the Harmony Director, so this was extremely new. So I say this because I know there are people sitting here thinking, I'm scared to use this in your rehearsal. And I will tell you, the more you use it, the more comfortable you become, and the better the group is going to get. And so I would encourage you just to dive in and try it. And don't be worried about having to sit there if the students are watching you fumble through chords or fumble through buttons. It's really not a big deal to them. And every group I've used this with has loved it. I've used it with Title I schools. I've used it with middle schools, high schools, of course, our college kids, and all of them absolutely love it. I was nervous when I used it here at Missouri State the first time, and our students bought in immediately. We use it every day. We use it in daily drill. We use it in rehearsal constantly, and I can't tell you how much it's changed the sound of the band. I know Cole Schlesselman, one of our grad students, is on the call. He could admit to this when we used it his second year. In 5 weeks with our Wind Symphony, the sound completely changed. And if I could play you a recording, it would floor you to hear the difference of the group in just 5 weeks of using this thing every day. It really will make a huge difference. So that's my pitch with that. So a couple of things that I want to remind you of. Ken, thank you. You hit on a bunch of great points, so thanks for doing that. Remember, this device does not fix pitch. It's like the metronome. We've used a metronome forever to make students more aware of rhythmic discrepancy. This device doesn't fix pitch. It's just going to make them more aware of the pitch difference. You always want to make sure that you're in pure intonation mode, using just intonation. If you hear the beats in the sound, it's not going to help you at all. I would encourage you the first time you use it with your students to actually demonstrate the difference. If I've come out to your rehearsals and done this, you're going to be aware of it. But I always play a game where we move between equal temperament and just intonation, so the students can really hear the difference. And after 30 seconds of that, they buy in immediately to the difference in the sound change. Second point, I would encourage you, if you are going to use it, to make sure that you are encouraging your students to what I call evaporate into the Harmony Director sound. I'm going to tell you a funny story. The other day I was standing in the kitchen and my dishwasher was humming at a very sharp B flat, a very flat B natural. And like some of us, maybe you're a nerd like I am, I started humming along. And suddenly I realized that the sound of the dishwasher evaporated into the sound of my voice. And it was in tune. And then I started going sharp and flat and messing around and hearing waves between me and the dishwasher sound because I'm a nerd. But if you encourage your students to do this with the HD, it'll start to adjust their ears to where they can hear the difference. And once you hear the sound of the HD disappear, that's when you know they're exactly in tune. It's really hard to do. It's not easy to do, but if you can, that's the goal. That's what we're trying to achieve. Ken mentioned using the organ patch. That is the best patch on the keyboard to use because it does have all of the overtones in the sound, which is what we're trying to build into our player's sound, is building more overtones. The other sounds, you get maybe one, maybe two overtones, whereas the organ, you can hear 3, 4, and 5 over the top of that. So I would encourage you to use that as much as you can. A couple other quick things. Ken mentioned using chords. I would encourage you to always use 2 octaves of major chords during daily drill time, which I will tell you, if you want my daily drill sheet, I'm happy to send it to you. I've sent it to a bunch of people. Just email me. I will send you my daily drill sheet and I will write on there what chords to use and what to do and how to do it. I'm more than happy to do that. It's nothing revolutionary. You're gonna be like, this is what I already do. But that's what I found to be really helpful for us. But again, I would encourage you to 2 octaves of major chords all the time. I've actually reverted a little bit. Now that I say that, I'm going to be a slightly hypocritical. I've gone back to using perfect fifths a little bit. Just to get our students to hear the third more instead of hearing it through the HD. I'm trying to get them adjusted to where they can actually hear the thirds themselves. But anything we do, we're playing an F major chord or whatever the key is, right? So for instance, when we start our rehearsals like Ken, I start my rehearsals on concert F. And so our students hear a droning 2 octaves of F major chords. As soon as they walk in the door, we do F major around the room a little bit. Then we'll move straight into F descending, Remington exercises, and I'll adjust depending on what we're doing. And again, I won't go through all of it now, but if you want to see it, I will send you my daily drill and I'll show you exactly what we do and what chords we use to make it easy for you. And then you just plug it in and go. One of the things I discovered when Ken and I were doing this a couple years ago, he asked me, he was doing lip slurs. And he goes, hey, how do we adjust the chords to go up and down? And I actually discovered a button that day that I wasn't aware of that now I use all the stinking time, which is using the transpose button in lip slurs. And so we'll do our lip slur exercise. We'll have a bar of rest in between. And I actually change the chord down a half step so that then they're already adjusted and they can hear the chord change as we move down the series. And so, again, it's really easy to use. If you're close to Missouri, I'm more than happy to come out and visit you. And I will play Harmony Director during your daily drill time. I love doing that. It's really easy to do. And we can talk through it. It's a lot of fun for the students because they start to buy into it really quickly. And I guarantee you the sound of the group is going to change immediately. So I'm going to open this up, Mike, to take some questions if that's okay.
Yeah, you bet, John. So first of all, Ken and John, I'm going to go ahead and put your emails in the chat so that folks can copy and paste those and reach out to you guys if they have questions. Let me see, got a couple of questions that are coming through here. Oh yeah, a couple more people asking for emails and stuff. Okay, good. Let's see. Oh, Lene Wooten, who's up in St. Joe, north of Kansas City, Missouri, she's asking, can someone show us how the transpose feature works? Because she wants to do that.
Ken, you want me to do that or you want to do it?
Oh, can you do it from there or you want me to do it?
No, I'll do it. Hold on a second. So if I turn on, I'm going to hit the F major chord here. If I go up here to this button, it's transpose. I can turn this dial that Ken was talking about here, and it'll just immediately start to adjust. And you'll see actually the pitch changing here.
Very cool.
It's literally that easy.
That's awesome.
And then if you click the 2 buttons, like I said before, you can move down. You can move down to, like, you know, if you're going down a third, then you just click the 2 buttons and immediately comes back to concert F. And so the way we do it at South is we'll, you know, like our Remington, we don't just go down. We always come back to concert F as our reference pitch, which you'll find. I mean, I don't think we're anything different, but we'll play a pretty good concert F. They'll play like a pretty good concert E natural. Then we'll play a terrible concert F when they come back. Like kids have already checked out listening. And so that bringing them back and helping them have that reference pitch is really helpful. And those two buttons are crazy helpful to do that.
And Ken, also, I'm tagging with that too, is that my friends, if you would encourage your students to do a lot of singing with the Harmony Director, that's going to help them a lot. I encourage our students to sing on an oo syllable. It tends to blend a lot better with the HD than an ah syllable. So if you teach ah syllable in daily drill time, the ah just doesn't blend as well with the HD sound. And so I would encourage you to, I joke with our students, we're going to sing like it's an Eric Whitaker tune, and we just sing everything on oo. And it tends to blend really, really well with the HD. And then we adjust as we go. Because Ken's right. I mean, you play an F, you go to the E, come back to the F, and they're way out again. And so if they're singing, they can hear it so much faster. And one quick little thing about them hearing it, someone asked this earlier. We have ours hardwired into one speaker that's in the back of the room. We run the wire straight from the podium, straight to the back. It's right behind the percussion. I don't know what kind of speaker it is. I'm not an audio guy, but it's a big speaker and it's a good one. And it puts out enough sound to where I can actually play over the top of the wind ensemble. So, you know, if when we were doing Hindemus Symphony in the fall, I could drone a B flat chord in the beginning and you could still hear it. And so it was okay. But we do a lot of singing and a lot of buzzing and a lot of airplay combinations of all three. And that's really helpful when the HD is going because they can hear that pretty quickly. So, but again, you have to have a good speaker for this. You can't use a dumpy, cheap speaker from CBS or something. Like you literally do have to go buy a nice speaker. You have to have something that's worthwhile. Ken mentioned this too with marching band. I discovered this with marching band when I was first using it. We literally, Rob Myers who taught me how to do this, like I said, and I asked him, what do you do in marching band? He goes, just plug it into your pit speakers and turn them around. And so we would just pipe it in through our pit system and we just turned around and pumped it towards the group and it worked great. And so you can use this thing outside and it is portable in that regard. And I know a lot of directors that will take this thing to marching contests, and they just have one of the directors carried around with them and they just pipe it in through their pit speakers. And so it really is that easy to do.
That's awesome. Okay, Steve Williams, who's out in Virginia, but a Missouri native. Let's see. He says, I have a Roland keyboard next to my conductor stand that I use daily to play accompaniments and help kids with pitches. Can the Harmony Director replace this? And would I still be able to play the accompaniments and still use it as a regular piano?
Yeah, because Ken mentioned this, it has the piano function. So you can still use it as a regular piano. The nice thing about this is it's so much easier in terms of being able to drone the chords that you usually can't do on a normal keyboard. And so you just push the hold button and then you can drone those chords. But yeah, it does have the piano function, so it serves the same purpose.
Yeah, the hold button is really, really, really cool because you can just hold the chord and adjust it. But also what I have found different than just a normal keyboard, because we had one of our middle schools used to use a normal keyboard, but the difference being that when you can put it into the just intonation instead of equal, it will change your group, especially if you're playing in the key of E flat, you move the board into the key of E flat, and then you play the melody there. It is different. They're not going to play out of tune on those pitches because it will put, as you play through the passage, it's putting it in the key center of E flat, which is a game changer.
Excellent, excellent.
The other part too, Mike, with that, sorry if I can chime in on that, is that the goal of the HD is to develop tone. You know, overall, it's to develop really good tone. It's not just about pitch, but developing good tone, which should be the number one goal of any rehearsal, is to develop good tone. Hopefully, anyway. And so the thing about using a regular keyboard is you don't have the organ patch that has the overtones built into the sound. And so you're getting the students to actually blend to this sound. Now, there's some people out there that say like, well, you know, your band sounds too much like a Harmony Director. And quite honestly, that's not the worst in the world, because that means it's going to sound good. And especially at the middle school and high school level, you want students to fundamentally sound good. I mean, that's really what they're trying to do, is develop the fundamental of their sound. And so I've had a lot of friends, you know, that play in professional orchestras that'll tell me, I try to play a concert F, and then I try to play that concert F on every other note of my horn and make it sound exactly the same, you know, and that really is the goal. Like fundamentally, you just want to have good tone. This thing develops good tone. It makes them, like Ken said, it makes them aware. It's not an abstract concept anymore. It's a real thing.
Yeah, I love the comparison to the metronome. The metronome doesn't make us play in time. It just makes us aware of time.
Yeah.
This
It gives you an awareness of time. This gives you an awareness of pitch that we just didn't have before. And I'll tell you, I grew up as a percussionist, and so we sat in the back of the room. I wasn't paying attention in daily drill time growing up. Like, I didn't think it was that important. I wish I would have now. And so, but it's this thing. I wish we would have had something like this to help with that, because it develops the ear so much easier at a young age.
So John, for folks who are not used to the terminology of daily drill, are you still there? We lose you?
Yeah, sorry.
Well, folks who are not used to the term daily drill or don't have a daily drill set up, would you walk us through what your daily drill is or what that means to you?
Yeah, sure. So daily drill, same as a warm up. And at the beginning of the year, we could get into the philosophical discussion of how much time should you spend on this. But, at the beginning of the year, you're going to spend probably 75% of your time in daily drill and 25% of your time on music, which some of you are like, you're crazy, that's never going to work. And that really is the way it needs to go. And then throughout the year, you're going to decrease that and the ratio will start to change. Sure. The funny thing is, the more you use the Harmony Director at the beginning of the year, the less you use the Harmony Director throughout the year, because the students can adjust so much faster. Again, if you want, email me. I will send you my daily drill, but I'll give you a quick little run through of it. We start with concert F. We go to F descending. We go to F ascending. We do an interval exercise. We always do the Chickowitz flow studies, always. We'll do lip slurs. We have an articulation study. We have a chorale in there. We have a chord blending exercise, a lip bending exercise, and some Clark studies. And so I just sort of pick and choose from that. This year, our second group was playing the state convention, and so we needed to work on articulation. That was something that we had a lot of trouble with. And so every day we'd start with concert F, and then we would immediately go to our articulation study. And this thing works with articulation. And when I say that, it makes sense to me now, but when Rob said that the first time, I thought he was crazy. I thought, this drones, Rob, how does this help you with articulation? And so what you end up doing is, during that articulation study, you just drone the chord the whole time. And the students are blending and trying to match, again, find great tone and trying to get the tongue out of the way as fast as possible so that the tone is there. Because again, that's the goal. We want to make the articulation as light as possible. And so this gives them a concept of sound at the beginning. So oftentimes I'll go concert F straight to articulation study. I love doing flow studies because it works on range and it gets them to sound, the same on every note. We might do lip slurs depending on the day. We almost always do our chord exercise at the end. It's just a basic F major building a chord. And then we'll do a chorale, which will then bop, and then I'll do like eighth note subdivisions and things. So it's a lot of the same things that probably most people do. You just integrate the HD into what you're doing and then make different combinations. And so every day, like we'll have brass, buzz, woodwind, sing, or reverse it around, have woodwinds play, brass are singing. And so we just do different combinations to make it interesting. But this thing works with all of those exercises. Again, just email me. I'll send you all my stuff, and I'm totally fine.
John, I like that you reassure people that this is the stuff that most people are already doing anyway. And that's really wonderful. I just wanted to make sure that folks who are listening to you saying our daily drill and they're going, oh my God, I don't do what is a daily drill? What am I doing? Most of you are doing all this stuff anyway. So if you need some,
well, then sometimes I'll go out to a rehearsal and they'll say like, well, we do like 5 minutes of daily drill and we just get to music. I'm like, and then we spent, like I went out to Farmington in February and we're like, let's get to music. We ended up spending an hour and 15 minutes on daily drill time. And it was a flow experience. We went through an hour and 15 minutes in no time. We had a great time. Everybody was enjoying it, because you're noticing a difference. You're noticing the students are getting better, and so you just have to do a lot of that at the beginning of the year, which will save you time later. And then all that stuff transfers over into the music. So
yeah.
John,
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Ken. Let me ask this quick question and I'll let you jump in. John, do you, when you do the chorales, do you have the Harmony Director droning the whole time, or what are you doing with that?
Yes. Okay. Yep. We drone it the whole time. Yeah. And ours is, it's the easy Patterson chorale. It's just the Bach chorale. Many of you are going to recognize if I send it to you, like, oh yeah, I'd probably use that. We just drone the F major chord throughout and we just leave it on. I will say real quick, when you're using this in music rehearsal, you should find the tonal center and then leave that thing on and let it go the whole time. Even if the chord sounds crunchy, even if it goes out of that tonal center just for a second, don't worry about it. That was really uncomfortable for the first time. But what's nice about it is something Ken sort of alluded to a minute ago. When the chord gets crunchy and the students hear it get crunchy because it's no longer in that key center, once they come back to what we call home base, it's like more in tune, right? I'm a big baseball fan. And so when I think about harmony, I think about, we start at home plate and the goal is to get back to home. Sometimes we run to first base and then we run out to like right field, with our harmony. And so the goal is to go around the bases, but we want to get back to the tonal center. And what the HD does is it provides the tonal center the whole time, no matter where we're going on the base pass, right, to get back to home plate. So it's a nice tool for that.
Little homing beacon to get back home.
Yeah.
Ken, what were you going to say, sir?
Yeah, I was just going to kind of reiterate or kind of respond to the articulation part, because we've done articulation exercises for a long time, but I didn't always use the Harmony Director underneath them because I wanted to hear the articulation or the space or the whatever. And we finally started doing that this year, and we had a clinician come in who was awesome, and my ensemble's playing really well, and I'm super fortunate to have them do that. And the clinician came in and goes, can you hear that the band plays about 20 cents sharp when they first articulate, and then they kind of all come into pitch.
Wow.
That is something that would have never been able to be understood by our students 5 years ago. And the fact that I can say that out loud, and, you know, I'm just a very, you know, the tool here has helped us with that. The kids all went, oh, okay. And so, you know, when you can try to get to that kind of refinement, and it doesn't happen immediately, but it will happen, because my kids are just like anybody else's kids. They just want to do a good job. So this tool will help them be aware of things you'd never be aware of before.
Great. 20 cents sharp every time they articulate. What good ears. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 questions from Justin Doss in Liberty. Let's see. He was asking about different types of chords, diminished chords, augmented chords, extension. Do you guys use it for tuning those as well? I mean, because we've heard major and minor examples, but are you using it in those, you know, more intense chords? Let me put it that way.
Yeah. Well, we played, we were going to play, we didn't get a chance to go to State Festival, but we were playing Claude T. Smith's variations on a hymn of Louis Bourgeois this year, and it has a lot of 7 chords, and our horns are really having a hard time. So we hit the 7 chord often on here, and just the way he had it set up, so I could go straight to their pitch and plug it in, and they could figure out where they were, you know, and what was going on. So we use it like that. I mean, that was the most recent experience, and I have to use it on diminished chords because kids can't hear that chord.
Right. Amen. Okay, excellent. And then his other question was, is there a way to import or upload audio into the Harmony Director, like a warm-up chorale via MIDI, MP3, and then have it adjust the pitch of the chorale?
I mean, I don't think that's possible, but I also don't think that's the reason you would be using the HD either. You know, I think, again, it's to develop ears. It's not to develop playing back the chorale necessarily. Again, it's, you know, if you're doing a lot of singing in your rehearsal, you don't really need that because you're trying to train the students' ears. And so I don't think that's a possibility. I have never discovered that, and I don't think I would use it in that way. I just don't think it's helpful for me. But
Chris, can you speak to that? Chris Dolson from Yamaha? You still on? Thought he was. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm still here. I didn't hear your question. I was looking up. I apologize to everyone because I think I gave you guys the wrong model number on that line 6. So I was looking it up for you there, Mike. And what was the question?
So we'll get to the model for the line 6 thing here in just a second, but they were asking, are you able to upload something like a MIDI file or an MP3 to the Harmony Director to have it play back to you?
You know, I don't believe that capability is here at that time.
Okay, perfect. That's good to know. We were all thinking that, but we figured we'd ask somebody that's closest to the source on that.
And to clarify, it is a G10, not a G20 wireless relay.
Line 6 G10.
Yep. Okay,
so y'all can look that up. Palen Music can get line 6 stuff, of course, for you, so you can order it through us if you'd like. And I once again want to say thank you to Yamaha for giving us a special discount code. I'm going to put it in the chat box one more time. So if you're wanting to order between now and May 15th, you can get the Harmony Director and the stand for $1,250, and then you get a case for free thanks to Yamaha. Okay, so if you order that through your Palen rep, if you don't have a Palen rep, contact me, and then we can get that special discount for you. Normally, the Harmony Director by itself is $1,500, so that's certainly helpful to help you guys save some money. Somebody reached out to me and said that their budget is frozen at this time, and they're not going to be able to make an order between now and May 15th. So I will see what I can do about that, and we can try to work something out. So just email me if you're interested. Okay, Charles Pizzara, thank you for hosting this for us today. Do you have something you'd like to add about how you're using it in your business?
I don't think so. We have the Harmony Director, and we use it in basically all of our classrooms, at least in all of our campuses.
Mhm.
And I've learned some new things today. Thank you, Ken and Dr. Zastoupil, and I think it's a good product. I probably concur with Ken in that it's not the kind of thing you can go slam around. It's a little bit plasticky, so its main value is the guts. You know what I mean? It's the brains of it. So anyway, it's great to see everybody today. Mike, thanks for setting this up, and thanks to Ken and John for leading.
You bet. Yeah. Okay. So anybody else want to unmute and throw out a question to the guys? I want to leave you time to answer or to get some questions answered, but I keep people on mute because I don't want to overwhelm everybody. No, we're good.
Hey, Mike, can I make one quick point?
Bet.
So I know a lot of people who use the Tonal Energy app in rehearsals too, you know, and some of them are probably thinking, well, that thing's $399 and this thing is $1,500, you know, why would I want to spend this much money on this? Tonal Energy works great, I think, for the individual player at home, but in ensemble setting, it's very cumbersome to get around to do what we're doing. And, you know, you can get fast enough with the HD to where the students don't even realize you're doing it. Whereas with the Tonal Energy app, you have to spin the dial and push things, and then, you know, somebody texts you and then you have to go back, and then it's mess, you know? And so you may be thinking, like, it's still not worth it to me. I guarantee you it is worth it to have this sitting next to you. It's just so much more user-friendly, and it's so much faster with all the it's all right there for you. And you just have to get comfortable using it. And once the comfort becomes, it's so much more helpful. So
Wonderful.
I think the part of it that I have found to be the absolute most helpful is that obviously I was using a metronome before this, and I didn't grow up with a metronome. My father was a band director, and he was really, really good. And when I started using a metronome, he didn't want to come into my band room. And but when we started using it, of course, it helped. It helped free me up from having to like keep time. Like, hey, I had too much caffeine this morning and I'm going and the kids aren't responding. And the metronome's very consistent. But when you use the Harmony Director, now your pitch and your time is so consistent. And it's very, very consistent day in and day out. So wherever the kid walked into, whatever their home life was, they walk in, they find immediately into, this is where we are, here we go. You can really focus in. We always have 4 counts off between our exercises. So if we play concert F down to concert E natural, back to concert F, we always take 4 counts off. I'm always giving them a verbal response of, hey, you need to breathe in a little deeper. Hey, can you open up your throat cavity a little bit more? Hey, can you listen to this better? You're constantly able to help them do that. So you've got a metronome, but you also have pitch that is allowing you to be able to teach into them. So instead of you as the band director trying to like beat time and, hey, you didn't pay attention, I was doing staccatos right there. No, you're totally getting them focused in on listening back into the sound. Their sound wants to disappear in the electric sound that's behind them. They also want to have their sound disappear in their friend, you know? And where we had it, and I know that it's starting to work because, you know, our freshmen were using it for the first time. And in February, we had a student move in. We were supposed to go to festival in March. Kid moves in February, and like literally half the band is like taking their instrument apart.
Yeah, I think we lost you. Oh man, I was looking forward to the story. What happened? What happened to the people that moved in? I want to know.
There's literally one player who moved in. And, you know, and the player played with a good sound. They were just out of tune on almost every note.
We missed all that because you froze up like right as you started to say the person moved in and then people started taking their instruments apart.
Oh, okay. So in my freshman band, we had a student move in February. And when they moved in, they weren't playing in tune. So immediately, like day one, as the kid moved in, they start playing our warm-up tunes, and meanwhile, like half the band starts taking their instruments down. They're all like, something's wrong today, and they're fidgeting with slides. And I had to literally stop rehearsal and say, hey, we're okay. We had somebody moved in. It's going to be all right. They're playing great, you know, and this is going to be awesome. But watching everybody else react to, hey, something's wrong. Somebody's playing out of tune. I think it might be me. Like, they were all freaking out. Dude, that's freshmen. They can't even drive yet. And the fact, and they didn't use it last year. They've only used it for 6 or 7 months. So just trying to get their ears onto those things. It was another one of those teaching moments where I was like, wow, this has nothing to do with anything that I'm doing in front of class. It has everything to do with just setting up a procedure so that kids can listen, understand, and then evaluate what they're doing. So that was, it can be helpful no matter where you are.
Yeah, and that is an awesome story, man. Thank you so much. Hey, all. This has been fun. I hope you learned some things from today. We've got 3 more big sessions that I'm hosting this week. Tomorrow is going to be a discussion about what to do to help your students be ready for college music study. That's going to be with the University of Missouri, Kansas City music ed faculty, Dr. Joe Parisi, Dr. Lonnie Hamilton, Dr. Stephen D. Davis. So those 3 will be here ready to answer your questions. Some of you have already submitted those questions and they are ready to think through those and have those on hand. It'll start at the same time tomorrow. You should have a code. If you registered for this, you should have codes for everything all week long. Feel free to jump on ones that you didn't sign up for. No big deal there. And we'll get you notes from every call and recordings from every call except for tomorrow. We're not recording tomorrow, but we will record Wednesday and Thursday. Also, there's a big session tomorrow afternoon called the Warren Report with W. Dale Warren from University of Arkansas, and he'll be talking about some things, some faux pas or slip-ups that he sees in the classroom fairly regularly that we can kind of be aware of. So again, I want to say thank you to Yamaha. I want to say thank you to Palen Music. Dr. John Zastoupil, Mr. Ken Hansen, thank you so much for spending your time with us today. Again, I'll get this video uploaded and send you guys info later on today via email. Thanks, y'all. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.